All right. Everyone, welcome into the info session. We're going to wait just a minute or so before we get started, and then we got a full set of discussion topics to go forward with. Glad you could all join us here today. Trying to admit someone and advancing the slides already. All right, well, I think we might as well get going and start this session off. This is our first information session for the MHCI+D program of this fall. So welcome in, everyone. Thanks for joining us here. And we're hoping that today we can provide you with a lot of information and a sort of a viewpoint of what we think we're doing here, what students in the program think we're doing here, and what we're looking for when it comes to admissions. So hopefully this is not designed to be a repetition of what's already showing up on our website. We want to give you a chance here to learn something new and give you a different slice of insight into what goes on in MHCI+D. So we have a pretty straightforward agenda for what we're going over today. We're going to start out talking about the program from a broad perspective of what our mission and values are, and we go from there to talk more specifically about the curriculum. After that, we'll bring in our students. Got several students in line to talk about their experience so far. They're celebrating today their 1 month anniversary in the program. So they become 1 month veterans in the program as of the 18th. We'll get their perspective on what they've seen so far and why they're here, why they think they're here. After that, a couple more discussion points to talk about career development and a little bit about the admissions and application process. And then we want to be sure to save time for question and answers. We don't want to go into all of the details about the application process. We'll leave that for you to explore on the website and to ask questions about. So this is mostly going to be talking about the program overall and why we're doing what we're doing here. That's the general setup for our agenda today. Joining us in the hosting seats today. I'll start with me since I've already been talking with you. I'm Matt Bartels. I'm the Assistant Director of the MHCI+D program, Assistant Director for Student Services. Joining me today is Ana Pinto da Silva. She's our Program Director. She'll be talking to us right away, early on. And Scott Ichikawa, our Associate Director of the program. He'll be talking as well, especially when we get into curriculum here. Those are our hosts from the staff side. We also have a half a dozen students who are going to be talking about the student experience. And you'll hear from Sam, Meg, Alex, Fabian, Husna, and Varun. They'll all be talking to us a little bit down the road here, sharing their experience. So I think it's really helpful to get not just our perspective from the staff side, but also the perspective of what the students are seeing as they go through this. That's who's in the house from the MHCI+D side. So to kick things off, I'd like to go in a little bit of discussion with Ana, our director, talking about the program and how we've got this set up in this MHCI+D world.
Holly, super. First of all, Matt, thank you so much for all your amazing work putting this international convening together. It's really something pretty remarkable. It's just like the power of Zoom. And I want to thank our incredible team behind MHCI+D, everybody who's here, our staff and our student workers and our alumni. I mean, it's just fantastic to have everybody on board. And finally, I want to thank all of you who are curious and interested in our program for taking the time. I know you're all coming to us from different parts of the world, and it's just a very remarkable thing to have time with all of you today. So I just wanted to thank you so much. At MHCID, our mission is to prepare innovation leaders to deliver the future of technology towards the emergence of a more joyous, resilient, and equitable world. And that's a simple sentence to say, but it's actually very, very difficult work. It's really work of the heart, and it's work that we do in community. One of the most important words in that sentence is the word leader. And for us, being a leader really means being a learner. And to be part of the MHCID community means to inhabit both of those words simultaneously. And I want to perhaps just share with you, for me, what that means. It means being willing to be out over your skis a bit, to not know more than you do know, to be relentlessly curious, to be comfortable being lost, and having the grit and the determination and the resolve to get found again. We do that getting lost and found within the context of an incredible innovation community. That community begins here within the walls of Alumni House with incredible interdisciplinary instructors who are brought to us from across the University of Washington, whose vision and mission are amplified by the integration of industry instructors who come from some of the most world-renowned companies in our region, folks from Amazon, Google, Microsoft, in addition to companies like Smartsheet and others, as well as startups and other nonprofits. Our Alumni House community is really rich and varied. Expanding beyond that, we're part of the DUB ecosystem. And what that means is we are part of the design, build, use, build community here at the University of Washington. And that is an interdisciplinary ecosystem that was founded about 14 years ago. That's one of the most powerful aspects of being part of the University of Washington. So it's just to say that at MHCID, we sit within a larger context. That first sort of layer is the university itself. That university, our university, is one of the preeminent research universities in the world, with one of the strongest and deepest benches in terms of computer science, information, art history, design, equity. It's just a tremendous place to be. And then, of course, we sit within a larger frame, which is the region, Seattle, the Puget Sound, Cascadia, the Pacific Northwest. This region is doing some astonishing work at the intersection of the future of technology and equity, looking at it from both a national and international lens at a moment when technology is defining more and more of our lives. It's really an exciting time, not only to be with MHCID, not only to be sitting within the university, but to be sitting within a program in a university in one of the most interesting and dynamic centers for technology in the world. I want to share with you my commitment to the program and to the work and to the community of leaders and learners surrounding the program. Every single one of us shares a commitment to disciplined vulnerability, to really asking difficult questions, but pursuing them with a sense of joy. We talk about critical optimism. Criticality is very important right now, as is collaboration, and how we come together to actually bring meaningful solutions forward. I would say that the heartbeat of our program is really community. It's really how we come together to learn and grow. And I would maybe close by saying this: we're really here to learn and grow together. And as the director of the program, I feel like I'm really its chief learner. I don't know far more than I know. And my role in this work is to continue to learn and grow with everyone as we invent the future together. So that's a little bit about the program, where we sit, which is an exciting and daunting space. And it's a space where we need each other's friendship and partnership to navigate forward, to bring forward that more resilient, more joyous, and more equitable world.
Thanks, Anna. just advancing to the slides here, Anna has spoken about this. This is our overall mission statement for what we're doing here. And you've heard Anna already mention a lot of these priorities and values that we bring together here at MHCI+D, and that we strive to bring together, I think. And our vision, exactly as Anna has already said, it's this critical optimism and to create equitable, ethical, interactive systems that enhance our well-being, considering the needs of both humans and societies as a whole. That's the vision that kind of drives us in this program, I think. This is at the high level. From here, we wanted to talk in a little more detail about how we put that all together. What goes on when we're building the program from the year to year. So we start with those principles, and then we go into the overall structure. So before we talk curriculum, just a couple of guidelines that we want to make sure everybody has a sense of as they're considering what's different about MHCI+D. When you're looking at multiple different programs throughout the year, we work on a cohort model. That means that we think it's valuable to bring a small group of students together to start the program all together in September and work through the year for 11 months, graduating at the end of the year in August as a group. That cohort model really defines a lot of how we approach the year. You're together in this program a lot. You get to know your classmates really thoroughly in the experience of the year. About 40 students is about the size. It varies a little from year to year, but about 40 is the size of a cohort each year. Most of your courses taken together in core classes that we offer, and Scott will be introducing the curriculum in a little more detail next. That's about 85% of the courses you take. There are electives where you spread your wings beyond what happens in our alumni house studio space, but much of what you're doing is in courses taught in the core curriculum. That's the way that we've structured the experience for MHCI+D. That's different than many other programs. And as you're trying to understand, like, where does each program have its specialization? Part of what builds us up is our cohort experience. And then our dedicated studio space is definitely a highlight of what we have to offer in this program, I think. There's the studio right now located in the alumni house is a space that's just for our program. Our students can use it 24/7. Their core courses are taught here, and it really becomes a home where it's really a valuable place, I think, to find each other, ask questions, not necessarily questions about classes, but also questions about classes. But it gives you a community space that you can hang out in and really interact and learn from not just instructors and staff, but especially students and classmates, alumni who come back to visit and the like. It becomes our home space and gives you a chance to really learn from each other throughout the year. That's a bit about the structure at the highest level. Next, let's move to talking about curriculum a little bit. And so I'd like to introduce again our Associate Director, Scott Ichikawa, and he'll take it from here for a little bit to talk about curriculum.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. And welcome, everybody. Yeah, as Matt mentioned, my name is Scott Ichikawa. I'm the Associate Director, but I'm also part of the teaching faculty for the MHCI+D program. I'm actually a faculty member at the University of Washington's Computer and Science and Engineering department. So I teach over there a little bit, but I primarily teach courses for the MHCI+D program. And so I get to introduce our curriculum to all of you. I'll try to quickly cover just the different types of courses, and I'll walk through how the courses kind of come together throughout a year as an MHCI+D student. If you have any questions, I just want to say, like, there might be stuff that pops in your mind as I'm talking. Feel free to add them to chat. We'll try to get to them either just through chat or during the Q&A session that we'll have a little bit later. All right. Yeah, so curriculum overview. So the MHCI+D program has a set curriculum that creates kind of a space to learn through doing, reading, writing, and hearing from and working with an interdisciplinary group of students, as well as faculty, instructors, and guests that we bring in. The foundation of this program is a core set of courses that fall into these main categories. There's going to be dubbed seminars, seminar, lectures, studios, capstone, and electives. And each quarter, the MHCI+D program includes about one of each. And I'll kind of walk through what each of these are. So let's get to the next one. So DUB, like as Anna mentioned at the beginning, DUB is kind of the foundation of this program. It kind of is the community that unites us across the different departments at the University of Washington. Throughout the year, you'll be integrating with this community. And one of the courses that we bring together as well is a course specifically aligned with this community. For this course, we bring in guest presenters from all over the world to share their work. This is an opportunity to learn about the latest innovations and research in the HCI community. It includes guests from both academia and industry in the different research groups that are happening out there to kind of give you kind of a rounded view of HCI and design. All right, next one. The other main courses that we have are seminar courses. The seminar courses, they're focused on diving deeper into things like the history, the processes, theories, and trends within the HCI and design. This is an opportunity to learn, read, write, discuss as a class, with the goal of helping shape both your understanding of HCI and design, the role it has within society, as well as crafting your own point of view and your place within this community. Next one. To go alongside the seminar courses, we have studio courses. They hopefully are building off of each other throughout the year. Our studio courses are really an opportunity to take a lot of things that you're learning and getting hands-on experience doing it. It is really focused on these courses are focused on leveraging our interdisciplinary backgrounds, skills, and experiences. And each studio course is led by 2 instructors, and typically with different backgrounds, but expertise within these topics. This could be a combination of both someone from industry and academia, or a faculty member presenting one or more of our core DUB programs. So like this quarter, I'm teaching alongside a faculty member from the information school to kind of help bring our 2 different perspectives towards our ideation studio class. All right, the next one. And then one of our big things that kind of is over encompassing across the whole year that you're here is kind of this culmination is a capstone studio and a capstone research and a capstone project. We have a set of studio courses that support this. It starts from the very beginning when you first arrive. We'll be talking about what is your purpose, what are you here to do, and hopefully that helps kind of drive the directions of these kind of core projects that you'll be working alongside some of your other classmates. So projects are team-based. Each team works with an industry partner or advisor on a project that aligns with the team's shared purpose, values, and areas of interest. So all of these types of courses, the goal is to kind of interweave them throughout the year. And so some of the courses and themes will kind of merge and kind of be brought to you through these different channels with the hope that you kind of get a well-rounded point of view and perspective from the different kind of groups and interdisciplinary programs that we bring together for our program here. All right, next slide. Oh yeah, and then as these are our core classes that we have, alongside those core classes, you'll also have the opportunity to kind of grow in the different areas that you want to grow. And so one of the nice offerings that our program has is we have electives that kind of allow you to kind of focus on specific areas of growth for yourself that kind of go and kind of support the things that you're learning through our courses for the MHCI+D program. And these elective courses, they cover a broad range of topics around HCI, design, ethics, entrepreneurship, as much as we can get to kind of like help bridge some of their growth opportunities. And they're offered across the different campus. So this is also an opportunity for you to kind of merge and get to work alongside other students in other programs like the School of Art History Design, Information School, CSE, and the HCDE program. And that's something that Matt works with you a lot to kind of help frame, like, what is the different directions in which you personally want to grow and what are the opportunities for you? Alongside electives, I don't know if we have a slide specifically for this, are DRGs. So those are directed research groups that kind of fall under electives. where if some of you are interested in areas of study or research that other faculty members are doing on campus, where you can also potentially join one of the research labs and be part of a larger project that is happening across campus. All right, so that's kind of an overview of all of our courses together. So I kind of really want to talk also, how do all these courses kind of come together in one year? Because that's kind of a lot, if you can imagine. And so the way our program starts, there's a year, but we even start a week before even all the rest of University of Washington typically starts. And this happens in Immersion Studio. The Immersion Studio really kicks off your time at within MHCI+D. It'll give you an opportunity to start diving into what is human-computer interaction design, what does that mean, as well as starting to build relationships with your peers, the faculty in the University of Washington, and the Seattle community as a whole. And it also is a grounding opportunity for you to start to focus on who you are, what is driving you here, and starting to have those purpose statements. So something that is shared across and understood across the different cohort members, because everybody's here potentially for different reasons and inspire each other. And so that is like this first week kickoff. It's 2 credits. That takes us to fall quarter, which will start a week, like the next week after that. And you'll see this one has kind of that breakdown of a studio, which is the user research class, or the seminar, which is a user research class, a studio, which we call Ideation Studio, a dub seminar, and electives. And I'll quickly kind of talk about what some of these are. So like fall quarter, the Ideation Studio, that's a project-based studio where you go through and critique the design process. You'll learn and practice systematic methods for exploring a topic space. You'll conduct light research, find insights, craft a design challenge, ideate, down select, and iteratively design, test, and present your work and process with a final ideation showcase event at the end of the quarter. Alongside that, you'll be learning research methodologies within the seminar course. You'll kind of talk about what user research is, how research is conducted, research methods, how to record findings and analyze data, and most importantly, the ethics of user research and how to protect individuals that you are studying. This is also when we start our dub seminar. And so starting in fall, you'll get introduced to guest speakers right from the start. A lot of times it is guest speakers, but what really comes together is this whole group. It's not just you, but it's a whole dub community gets invited to these speaker series. And following each presentation is a class discussion, typically with that presenter, to kind of deep dive into some of these topics that they're kind of introducing to you in their presentations. And that's typically supported with some reflective writing as well, as you try to craft your personal understanding of these different spaces. All right, so that's kind of your first quarter. You'll have electives. As you transition to winter quarter, we're going to have the first seminar that's really focused on HCI. And so this is the User Interface Software and Technology course. It's called WIST for short. This is a seminar that surveys the past, present, and future technologies. It includes things like hands, bodies, 2D, 3D, physical computing. And we'll really focus on teaching you theories, concepts, and analytical skills, and examining the feasibility and limits of user interface technologies. So this is kind of talking you through like what's already been there in the past, where are we currently, and where is potentially it going? So you have a kind of a grounding in that space. Alongside that class, we have a prototyping studio. This is where you have an opportunity to take some of these things that you're learning around technology and take an idea, test it, and build it. And at its core, it's about different ways for people to engage with your ideas. You'll explore various ways to rapid prototype. It'll push many of you outside of your comfort zones as you learn a little bit more about physical computing, but it should also be seen as a really great opportunity to experiment and see what it means to be doing research and inquiry through the lens of actually making. This is also, you'll notice there's a blue course here called Capstone Planning. And so, as we mentioned, this idea of capstone, it gets woven throughout the year. Capstone planning is where you really start to form together as a team, connect with your industry advisor, and kind of define the potential direction for your team's capstone project. Obviously, dub continues throughout the year, and a lot of students will also take electives alongside these courses. Spring quarter. spring quarter, we have another seminar course. This one's called Designing Interactive Systems. This one is really focused on the theory and foundations of design and thinking about designs as a system, especially recognizing that the world in which we're living is a complex system and it's very interconnected. And the things that we do impact a greater society and world and environment. And so it's talking about like, what is our role and how do we kind of navigate that space as people within this field. Alongside that, we have a class, it's called Research Studio or Evaluation Studio, but this is really the start of like getting really, really deep into your research for your capstone project. And so it's really focused on giving you time to kind of take all the learnings that you've had throughout the year to kind of bring together what is that audience, what is the plan, what is the inquiry, what are the things we want to learn, and crafting a user research plan and conducting research to really start to understand potential audiences that you might be designing for or with. This is an opportunity to kind of learn more about your topic space. You'll be doing research, finding insights, opportunities, and desired outcomes that will help drive the rest of your capstone course that happens over the summer in the Capstone Design Studio course. And of course, Dub keeps going, and some people will be taking electives at that same time. All right, and then the last quarter, so to wrap up this full year that we pack all together, in the summer, you'll notice we don't have a seminar course. And you'll notice that this big one is a bigger chunk of time. We have a Capstone Design Studio course. It's 8 credits. So it's one of the big things that you are doing at the end of the year that's really bringing everything together. It's taking all those finding and insights and opportunities that have kind of been framed within the capstone evaluation and research class in the spring and shifts the focus to designing and making and evaluating and testing. It'll take learnings from across the different courses that you have taken and really culminate in this kind of great big celebration. There's a lot of things that happened in this final week where there's a capstone presentation and defense that is kind of like your last big push to get to graduate. And then we have a capstone showcase event. And this year we had a capstone showcase at the Seattle Public Library downtown. We're invited. I think we ended up having like over 200 something guests kind of watch and see all the hard work that y'all put into throughout the whole year. And then there's also an opportunity to also bring back to the Dub community. So you'll also be presenting that final quarter to the Dub community as the final presenters. To kind of share all the hard work and all the amazing things you did with the community that you've been a part of throughout this year. So that is, hopefully I went through that kind of quick. I know that's a lot of information, but I think it's kind of nice for y'all to kind of see like how we kind of structure this program, the type of classes that we are offering, our thought process behind some of these courses to help you kind of have a better understanding of what it would be like potentially to be here as students and what you would potentially be learning throughout the year. So that's my spiel. And if you have questions, definitely feel free to add in the chat and we can talk about it as we get into the Q&A session. So thanks, Matt.
Awesome. Thank you much, Scott. That's great to get the overview and see how it all fits together and what the shape of the year looks like here. What we want to move into next from here is to start talking a little bit about what it's like from the student side. So before we bring in our student panel, wanted to spend a little bit sort of picking the brains of Scott and Anna and I about when we're looking at a cohort, what do we think makes for a good candidate for this program? And so we put together a couple of thoughts and wanted to talk a little bit about sort of who's right for this program. This is one of your big questions as you're deciding about applying to one and more of the programs. Sort of what are we looking for? We'll do that first, and then we'll talk to the actual students who have made it through this process. So who's right for the MHCI+D program? Scott, do you want to maybe start with maybe the first one, and then I'll talk about the second one, and we'll go kind of back.
Sure, we can kind of share some of these.
Yeah.
Obviously, as you kind of see that curriculum that I quickly outlined for all of you, part of the approach behind this is we really want people that are really kind of focused and not focused, but fascinated and curious about people and technology. I think a lot of people will be coming from it from a technology standpoint or a human standpoint, but what is the interconnection between both? And be open to kind of understanding and wanting to see like, where could this be going and where do we want it to be going? And part of that is recognizing as future leaders, as we're defining these new technologies, be curious about where this could take you, both positively and potentially negatively, like what we want to avoid around these different things that impact people and societies and environments and communities. So curiosity, just being curious, wanting to learn, wanting to be open to some of these things and be challenged throughout the year.
Absolutely. I think the second bullet kind of builds right off of that. We're looking for people who are self-directed and driven in their interest and their curiosity. One of the changes, especially if you're coming relatively directly from an undergraduate program, is this program is best when you really put some of the motivation into it. And really, we thrive best with students who are driven to get the most out of the year. It's a year that goes by really fast. There's a lot on offer, but we're really looking for people who will always be pushing a little bit further and saying, what might we do? What could we learn in here? I think the program is best for people who are not looking to sit back and just wait for the curriculum to be delivered to them, but want to take an active role in it throughout the year.
Yeah, I'll add on to that one a little bit too. It's like University of Washington has so many like resources and opportunities across all of campus. And we can definitely try to help introduce you to some, but a lot of that work too, to take advantage of what the school has to offer, is really on you as well, right? Being proactive, really being thoughtful about what you want and out of this kind of education, what you want out of the University of Washington, and also being willing to kind of go out there and just talk to some people, talk to some of the different instructors or professors across campus, especially if you're interested in some of their research and work, right? In order to take advantage of a lot of the things that we have here, part of it is you got to go out there and find it and do it. Which kind of transitions to my next one. So I was going to do the impulse towards creation. And so you'll notice we have seminar and studio courses. Like sometimes you're thinking about like graduate school, what is that going to be like? One of the things that we are really focused in on this class is not just people that are thinking that they're just going to be here writing and being in books the whole time. You'll be reading a lot of things for sure. But also have that inclination to also want to get hands-on. Like we want people that are really like fascinating, even if that isn't your thing, like being willing and open to trying these different things. So for example, like maybe you're somebody who's like super interested in research. And then the expectation is we also want you to see what it means to translate some of that research into actual designs, actually producing things. So even if that's not an area that you want to focus in on as a career or whatever beyond here, that at least you have an understanding of what that role is and that relationship it has, and vice versa, right? Like if you're coming to this program and saying, I just want to do design or whatever you define that is, you have to be open to understanding you have to go talk to people. Like, and that expectation is you will be part of these research teams talking and learning that process. And same with the prototyping studio, where I think we always like that's where most people get a little freaked out because I don't know any coding. But being open to be like, we try to make it something accessible to everybody. We recognize not everybody will be coming with that kind of a background, and that's not an expectation, but be willing to at least try and see what it's like and just put the time in and see how that can kind of build a broader understanding of what it means to be with HCI and design.
Yeah,
So
I think a lot of the creation side also goes into our expectation that we're producing leaders in the field. We're thinking of your future as not just someone who's going to execute on what your boss tells you to do, but you're someone who can push the design process through from the beginning to end and should be interested in coming out of this program, taking leadership and helping to push forward the development of products, services, or other types of experiences. And that works. The people who work best in this program are those who are coming in with that impulse to aim for that. To look at the next point, it almost to me reads like a downer, but it's a very important element of our program is we're looking for people who are able to dedicate a full year, both in time and finances. This is an expensive year to spend in a graduate program. It's also a really intensive year, as I'm sure we'll hear from the students next. You might be able to do a little bit on the side, working on different things, but you won't be holding down a full-time job while you're in the program. We want people who are here for the year. So it's a big commitment to the program that you want to be part of this cohort and really like getting the most out of the program, which requires a lot of time and it also requires a lot of money. It's an expensive commitment in both ways for the year. So we're looking for folks who know that coming in and are excited about doing that, or at least willing to do that. I don't know if you're excited about spending a year's worth of finances, but
Oh, yeah. A year by goes fast, right? And we've tried to condense everything to a year, but we also want it to be a very meaningful year. And if you talk to any of us instructors, we're very much like, we want to maximize our time with you. Like if you're going to be with us for a year, we're going to try to get as much in that year. And I feel like you can probably hear from the students how much we are pushing and setting those expectations. And that's part of that dedication to really give what you can, but hopefully not like totally destroy yourself, obviously, but enough for you to like feel like you are making a good value out of this year commitment, plus the time and finances that it takes to be a part of this. And we recognize that, right? I think Matt kind of mentioned some of this at the beginning, but this idea that we are a cohort model, like it's one of our unique features, but it's also something that it's really important for us when we're thinking about who we're bringing in as potential students, is that realization that you are going to be really get to know these close people for a whole year. You'll be taking a lot of classes side by side. When we say a studio model, that means you're going to be working in teams with a lot of different people, and it's not the same people throughout the whole year. You'll be working with a broad range of people with totally different backgrounds, totally different experiences. They might be coming from a totally different culture that are sharing these different perspectives and experiences, and you are also contributing to that as well, right? And so one of the things that we always want you to imagine when you are here is you are going to be alongside people and learning alongside people, pushing each other, learning from each other, supporting each other. And that's how we kind of make this strong cohort and community. And so we are looking for people that are kind of eager to be part of that cohort and be part of our MHCI+D community, excited to be working with other people and learning from other people, because that's kind of what makes us strong and allows us to do this in one year. If we have a diverse group of people with backgrounds, you together combined can do so much more than if you're kind of by yourself. And so that's kind of our philosophy around that.
And I guess the final point to add on here when we're thinking of who's right for the MHCI+D program is this last one, the sense of purpose. When we're looking at applicants and we're in a great position to have like awesome applicants pool that have hundreds of people who want to come in here. Part of what we're looking for is, why are you doing this? Do you have a sense of why you want to progress in this field? What's driving you? We're looking at that as one of the elements that can make our cohort even richer, is to try to find people who are coming in with a sense of purpose. And we don't expect you to have all the answers of knowing exactly what your purpose is in this field. That's why you're going to graduate school, presumably. But looking for that sense that you've got something that's motivating you, that's bringing you in here. And it's, of course, there's a financial side to the career prospects, but beyond that, why do you want to be in this field? What motivates you to be involved in HCI and design? We're looking to understand that as part of your application materials. That's our take on kind of who's right for the program, but what's probably a better way to talk about who's right for the program is to actually meet some of the students in the program. So the next section, what I'm excited to do is to welcome in our student panel. This is a group of veterans of the program. They have been here for exactly 1 month now. And I would like to just start out and bring them in to say hello. I think what I'm going to try to do is turn off the screen share. And then if you have your videos open, we can actually see people instead of just a frozen image of each of you. But this is a portion of the class of 2024, the current students. Samantha, Meg, Alex, Feben, Husna, and Varun, they've all been willing to join us here in this session and talk a little about why they joined MHCI+D and then how it's been so far. So I'm going to stop the screen share, and if we can instead move to individual images, you'll see everyone kind of showing up in here, and as they talk, their screens will get that little green box around them that you can see. To start us off, I wanted to ask a general question. I'll kind of talk to each or name each one of you one at a time, but as an introductory point, I'm curious from each of you what your background was. If you could tell us a little bit about what you brought into the program before you came in here. A year ago, you were putting together your application for the program, just like the folks on this call did. Where were you coming from? Did you work? Were you coming from school? And what sort of area within the field are you interested in pursuing as far as you know right now? I get nervous about that question because part of what we want you to do is explore this year. So I don't know is a great answer from the students at this point. But first question, what's your background? And what did you bring into the program? Where do you think you're going? We'll talk more about your experience in the program next. But to start us off, Sam, Samantha is our admissions ambassador. You'll probably talk with her more throughout the program or throughout the admissions process. She's here. She put together this panel of students as well, and her classmates. So Sam, why don't you kick us off?
Can everyone hear me all right?
You're good to go.
Okay, amazing. Thanks for the thumbs up. Yeah, hi, my name's Samantha. Thank you all so much for being here today. I was talking to my classmates that it's kind of crazy that it feels like we just submitted our applications and somehow we're here like veterans, as Matt calls us, talking to you guys. Yeah, it's kind of nuts. I come from a background in psychology. I worked for 6 years in government. So I'm originally from Singapore. Spent the last 6 years in government working on a variety of public policies, public communications, a little bit of public sentiment research. I came across design through one of my work projects, and I don't know, something about the process brought so much joy to me, and I really enjoyed not just the methodology, but sort of the opportunities that it could open up in terms of how we rethink public services or even tech for public good. And that's what brought me to the program to learn more and explore. In terms of where I think I'll go next after this, I'm curious about a lot of different things. So I'm leaning towards exploring design agencies and like innovation consultancies as a next step, because I think that will allow me to, dip my fingers into the biggest variety of things, be it in ed tech, healthcare, other areas where we can apply innovation as a methodology. Yeah, that's all from me.
Thanks, Sam.
Matt, do you want to throw the baton to
I was
someone?
going to say, do you want to popcorn it to somebody else in your cohort? Put someone on the spot.
Sure. Varun's sort of the closest to me on like my little grid, so I'll throw it to you.
For some reason, I knew it was going to be me. Can everyone hear me okay?
You sound great.
Okay. All right. Hi, my name is Varun. I came to MHCI+D. So I, in my undergrad, did a program known as Creative Technology and Design at CU Boulder, which has, I think, a similar styling to MHCI+D, a similar emphasis on design in a technical space. And I really enjoyed it. Afterward, I went and I worked for Seagate Technology, which if you guys have an external hard drive, it's probably made by them. And I worked as a full stack developer for them for 3 years. And while I was in industry, I enjoyed my work, I enjoyed my team. It still felt a little bit lacking in the direction I wanted to go in. I think I wanted to go more on the UI UX side, and get more involvement in some of the decision making versus just doing pure coding. And I think I kind of craved there's a certain environment that you get here at school that I think you don't get necessarily out in industry, in terms of the excitement and the desire for innovation and the directions you see from a lot of the classmates as well as our professors. And so I was kind of craving that return to school a little bit, and then kind of return to that design field. So I was interested in coming back to a design focused degree. So I came back and joined C11. Where I plan to go next, I think I've been always very interested in storytelling. I love reading, and I tell a lot of stories. I tell a lot of long-ended jokes. And so I think storytelling in the technical field. So I think video game design is the most obvious one that comes to mind, but there's a plethora of others. It's an area that I'm very interested in. That, or I think UI UX or product management. I think there's a few angles that I could go in, but yeah.
Thank you much.
Let's see.
Who's next? Who you got?
I'll send it. Alex and I are in the same room, so I'm just gonna send it to Alex.
Yeah.
Tag.
It's so funny. Like we're in the same room, but different corner. Hi, everyone. I'm Alex. I graduated from Taiwan last year with background in management science and computer science. After graduation, I worked in an agency as a UX designer for 1 year. And during my undergrad, I took a lot of UX courses and also like try academic research a little bit. And at the end, I feel like design is the best way for me. So yeah, I worked for an agency as a UX designer for a year and joined the program. So yeah, that's it about my background. After graduation, as like everyone said, I'm still trying to explore, but a very vague target for me right now is to work in inclusive design. That's to design for everyone, including elderly, including accessibility design, or for low-tech digital literacy group. So yeah, it's a very brief introduction.
Thanks much. You guys are handling the question about what you want to do with your life after this really well so far. I expect more confusion. Good job. Who's next, Alex?
Okay. Mac, do you want to try?
Sure. How's my audio? Can you guys hear me?
You're good to go.
Cool. So I graduated just this year, class of 2023 from undergrad. My major was cognitive science. And my background, I worked in a linguistics lab, psychology lab, and a CS lab. So pretty research heavy background, but I ended up realizing that academia is really slow. Like it's super hard to make an impact when like one research project can take like 15 years. So I found that I really love thinking about the way that people think, and also technology. So HCI seemed like a natural next step. And also just the fact that things move quickly and you can see tangible impact. So as for where I want to go next, I am really interested in UX research. That's sort of what I came into this program wanting to focus on, because I do really love the research process based on my background. But just in this past month, trying out design for the first time, pretty much in my whole academic career, I actually really like it. Like it's fun. This is new for me. So leaning towards UX research, but I'm enjoying exploring design and open to that as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
And I will popcorn to Husna.
Welcome in.
Hi, can you guys hear me all right?
Pretty good.
Okay, yeah. Hi, first of all, I'm so excited you guys are here because I'm sure you guys are really, really confused. But I'm glad you're considering this. So a little bit about myself. My name is Husna, and I actually have a background in architecture. I graduated long back. I have almost 4 years of experience working in architecture, working in structural design, and working with interior design as well. So I came into this program because I wanted to expand my design knowledge and look at product design. So also this program is really interdisciplinary in approach, in teaching, in the cohort and all of that. So it seemed like a perfect fit for me because I come from a different background and not a design UX or a design specific background. Well, I'm here right now and I can tell you I'm really liking it. Yeah, so I've been dabbling with user research, ideation classes, all of that. And yeah, I think I want to move forward and pursue product design. I don't know. Let's see how it goes. Yeah. Okay. Have you missed out anyone else from C11 here?
I think Fabian's the last
Fabian,
person.
I think you're the lucky last one, Fabian.
Yeah.
Hello,
Let's go.
hello everybody. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. I'm sorry I can't have my video on because I'm on my way to the studio. I'm parked alongside a parking lot, so we're all good. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Fabian. I graduated undergrad in 2021, and my degree was in geography, specifically concentrating in geographic information systems, known as GIS, mapping and systems. And I got into that field not necessarily because I wanted to, but I was a little bit confused during my undergrad because I was trying to find my way and discover my passion. And I was just in between engineering and research and HCDE, but I ended up with GIS. And I'm a local, so I graduated from the University of Washington. And so I've always known about UX research and the MHCI+D program. And so I've always thought that I was gonna apply. I was just waiting on the right time. And so last year I applied to this program, and up until then I had about 3 years of a break. And during that time, I worked as a user researcher for a contract position for a company where I specialized in usability testing and user interviews and just making sure, just seeing, what's the word? Just working with users and making sure that the product is not only inclusive, accessible, but usable. And then I worked as a user researcher for about 2 years. I also participated in a DRG during my undergrad, which was how I got exposed to UX research. And there I worked with about 10 kids, and it was a co-design session where we designed for kids with kids. And so that really opened my eyes about UX research. And now, being in this program for a month, I think I do want to stick with UX research, specifically because during my work and my experience, I felt like I only experienced a certain phase of user research, which was specifically on usability testing and interviews. And so I really want to know and experience the nitty-gritty from start to finish of UX research. But I'm also interested in design. So I'm still 50-50 right now. But it's been great and challenging in terms of like getting a little bit of design as well as getting a little bit of user research so far. And yeah.
Awesome. Thank you much. You know, what I'm curious to hear a little bit about before we go into, I was ready to ask you, like, you know, the sort of sales question. Why'd you pick this program over others? But I'm more curious to hear about how your day-to-day has been. You've been here for a month. This can be kind of open for anybody to talk about, but what's the experience been like so far? How have you found, you know, we made claims at the beginning about this is a cohort model. We do these class things. What's it been like to be in the cohort so far? How have you found this first month so far? Anybody?
I can go. All right. So I'm a skeptic. I'm a really skeptical person. But when I came in and I met all these people and the different passions they have, their interests, our common goal of being in this cohort together and achieving what we had to achieve, I think brought us closer. And I think with us indulging in group activities and going out for lunches and all of that, it really sort of pushed me to believe that this is a good situation moving ahead, and that I could really connect with these people. And I think that's what's really helping me do well with my studies as well, because it's this connection that I have with everyone that kind of motivates me. So that is point number one. Point number two is we're all here from different backgrounds, right? So no one knows everything. We all help each other learn, and we all help each other grow in areas we lack. So that is another important thing about this program, what makes it special. So that's point number 2. And point number 3, I would tell you, don't be too scared about how much you know, how much you don't know. If you're passionate about doing this course, if you're passionate about community, about making an impact, about actually being concerned about the problems that we have right now in our age and time, this is the correct program for you. So this is all I have to say to you guys. If anybody wants to go next, go ahead.
Good start.
I can jump in afterward. I
Varun.
think one thing I would say from a day-to-day is I think at least recently, I would say our day-to-days have been waving up a little bit. I think things are starting to get a little bit busier as we get more and more in depth in some of the projects. I think deliverables come at a pretty fast pace, but I think along with that, once you start getting used to that fast-paced styling, you have a lot of opportunities within those to really flush things out, actually. I think in the sense of every single day is you have to be very conscious of your time, but if you are, you can very much make a lot of impact in a singular day. And so every day is pretty fulfilling, but they're pretty busy as well.
Yeah, and something I also want to add, like I echo both of the things that each of them said, super, super true. And something I found is that like the ratio of time spent in project meetings to time spent in class is like super high in a way that makes it so that the program sort of reminds me equally of, you know, school and undergrad, but also work experience, which I think has been really cool. Like it's definitely an adjustment, like especially for me coming straight from undergrad, to feeling more like lots and lots of project time, but it sort of makes me feel hopeful that this is going to be a nice transition into career, like right after graduation. Yeah, so lots of project time, which also like forces us to build community really, really fast. And I mean force in a fun way. So yeah.
It's of course a fun way.
Of course a fun way.
And definitely
I
to
think
add to
when
that,
oh
go ahead.
now Fabian, you
Just to add to that, you also, one advice that I would give is definitely make sure that you manage your time correctly. Plan it out, right? If you're a visual person, you know, have a visual for yourself, but it is manageable, it is fast paced, but you're all in this together as a cohort. And that just knowing that makes you feel better. And so you're not the only one. Everybody's feeling the fast pace. Everybody is feeling, you know, all the deliverables coming fast. And, you know, the turnaround time is pretty fast, but, you know, it is preparing you for the industry. And I like it. And so, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think when you heard Matt and Scott say that the year goes by really fast, the previous cohort also told us the year goes by really fast. We were like, okay, yeah, of course, it's 1 year, right? And then we came in, and then like today, Anna reminded us that we've been in the program for 1 month already, and everyone was kind of like, what? It's already been a month. So things come really quick, but I think in that quickness, it also forces you to go outside of the classroom, right? So there's a huge focus on, we're going to give you a little bit of theory. We're going to give you readings to back up that theory, force you to think about it a little bit more. Okay, go on, take these theories, take the frameworks, go out into the world, test them out, see what works and see what doesn't work. I think I definitely felt a little nervous going. I felt like, oh, maybe I wasn't prepared enough with the theory to go out into the world, but actually running some research this past week, which is what I think most of my classmates have been busy with this week as well, but actually applying some of these research tools has been part of like a really, really good learning experience for all of us to actually go and test it out. Day to day, I actually only have 12 hours of classes per week, but the rest of the week I'm spending running research in group meetings with my two amazing teams, and then yeah, still trying to be conscious, getting more into the swing of things and being intentional about like blocking out time to spend with my dog or like do some cooking, do things that rejuvenate me for the coming week. Because those meetings and those classes can get really intense. Like you're really using your brain at 100% capacity at those times. So trying to block in some time for my brain to relax as well.
Good strategy. Alex, it looked like you were opening your mouth to say something, so I'll give you a chance if you were about to.
Yeah, I just want to say I agree with Sam and everyone. This is definitely a very high-paced program, and there's tons of deliverable. But I also want to say, like, one of the most valuable things in this program for me is actually the theory and reading taught in the class. Like before I joined the program, I have this doubt, like, what's this program gonna be? Will it be like a huge UX bootcamp? And now I can happily say it's definitely not like a bootcamp, because all the theory and all the reading from class, they really provoke me and I guess my teammate to think about the thing we're doing and the ultimate purpose behind it. And that for me is very, very valuable.
Thank you. I'd like to ask one more question of the room of students before we make sure we have a little Q&A time before we get to the end and get a couple more things to cover. But I want you to put on your caps now as people who have successfully made it through the application process. Y'all were, a year ago, you were working on your applications, thinking about, where you wanted to go to and the like. I'm wondering, thoughts about any advice you might have for potential applicants, and also any reasons. You've already given us a lot of reasons of why you chose MHCI+D, but what was running through your mind when you were looking at the choices to make? Because as much as we'd like to be the only logical choice for everyone, there are good programs out there. So what made you think about MHCI+D, and why this, and advice for applicants who might be listening into the call? That's what I'd be curious to hear from y'all about.
I think,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. So one thing I'll say is, an advice that I would give is really look into what the program has to offer and look at the courses and, see what intrigues you, see what inspires you to want to be in this program and talk about that. Why are you excited to take that course, right? And then not only that, just as you're choosing the program, or just as the program is choosing you, you're also choosing a program. So also don't be scared to list off what you have to bring, right? What you offer and what you bring to the table, because everybody's experience is valuable. And so don't be scared to, brag about yourself in those essays and about the projects that you've been involved in, and just show your passion. Let it be seen.
Absolutely.
I totally agree with that. I think one thing that I would say from my experience, so I actually applied to this program for the C10 group as well, so a year before this group, and I didn't get in. And I think part of the reason I didn't get in when I did the application the first time, first of all, I rushed the application process. It was definitely more last minute than it should have been. But I think I focused a little too much in things like my statement of purpose on thinking about what sounds marketable and interesting and not necessarily what sounded genuine to me. So the story that I wrote up in my statement of purpose not that it didn't necessarily apply to me or that it wasn't true, but it wasn't, I think, the story I wanted to say. And I think that came off. And so the second time around, when I wrote my statement of purpose, I kind of took the courage to write the one I wanted to write. And I think the staff kind of saw that more genuine side in my application. And so I can't say for sure, but I think that could be a part of the reason why I got in the second time around. So that's one thing I'd say is be genuine with it, right? Like, no one here is going to judge you. And I think the more excited and genuine you get about the story you tell, the more the staff and the cohort, our cohort, whoever reads these applications will resonate with that.
Awesome.
Cool. I want to add, like, super agree with these things. And then I want to add, just like from the standpoint of somebody who applied with relatively little design experience, like that was really daunting, like if any of you guys are in the same boat. And like when it came time to share like on my application projects I've worked on or like my portfolio, what I realized was like no need to narrow and like feel like you can only share design projects. I shared like most of the things that I shared were research projects or like in-class projects in classes that weren't about design. So I think like ultimately what you want to be showing is the way that you think, the way that you solve problems, and the way that you work on a team, rather than it necessarily has to just be about UX or like design. And then also, as for why I chose this program, like first of all, like you've been hearing a lot today that it's super fast paced, and I felt like being in a program where there's no time to waste at all would really, really challenge you and force you to grow really quickly. And like that's already been true in the 1 month that I've been here. And also just it's like an awesome program. It has a really good reputation in the industry, which was important to me. Like when it came time to decide between a few programs, I talked to a couple of people at Microsoft that I know, a dream company, but they were both like, oh my God, like UW MHCID. I know a couple of people from there. They do an awesome job. So that was another like big selling point for me.
Thank you.
Yeah, and to add to that, I feel like one of the reasons why I choose this program is the faculty, I guess. I guess a lot of the course will have two instructors, one from academic background and one from industry background. So a lot of the time in class, we will hear two takes on the same topic, and this is very fun. And that's one of the reasons why I choose this program. Like before I even got in, and like 1 month in the program, I would say it's definitely worth it. Like I'm glad I made the right choice.
Awesome. Thank you much. I want to be sure to leave us some Q&A time at the end of this. So I want to probably should move along. I feel like we could run the whole session just as a student panel and get your feedback on what you've been experiencing. And I want to hear about your projects that you're working on and the like, but we're going to move forward. Student panel, thank you so much for your insights into here. And you'll still be, I hope around for some Q&A at the end as well as we move forward. If you have questions, particularly for students that you want to type into chat while we go through the last couple of things, feel free to use chat. We could definitely go in multiple modes here as we go forward. So I'm going to put this slide deck up here. Again, thanks Sam, Meg, Alex, Fabian, Husna, and Varun for all that you've already shared with us. I'm going to talk about a couple more things before we move to open questions. First up, I want to talk about careers. This is a professional degree program. We think we're training you not to become PhD academics, instructors in the field, at least not right out. We think we're preparing you to take a role in industry. So one piece of what you're doing here is you're preparing for careers that are going to come after this year. And to that end, we have things that we provide along the way. The biggest part of career development that I think we put together for this year is really the courses. We think your learning in classes is your best preparation when it comes to career development. In addition to that, though, we do a lot of career development workshop and the like along the way throughout the year. So some of the things that we offer are directed workshops that have to do with the job search. These start out light in the beginning of the year as you're getting used to the program, and then they ramp up as we go through winter and spring and summer. I hold workshops that start out with things like disentangling job titles. This is a field that has a lot of confusion around some of the ways that we use titles like UX designer and other product designer and things like that. So we have a workshop on that. We have workshops on how to network, and then some of the nuts and bolts of the job search as we get further into the year. things like a resume workshop, and breaking apart the different elements of the job interview to prepare you for those. There are different types of job interviews, from a screener with a recruiter to behavioral interviews when we ask you, tell me about a time when this happened. We have sessions about the whiteboard design challenges that you might find in the job search. And then once we're through all of those, sessions on negotiating your salary and your job offer. In all of those, we do a balance between introducing the materials, but also giving you a chance to practice, because the truth is, like, the job search interview questions that you get, they're not that daunting. You can manage interview questions with practice. So part of what we provide is a chance to have a place to practice your interviewing strategies and to get used to answering these questions, formats for putting together a meaningful answer to a lot of the most common questions that you'll face. In addition to workshops on the job search process, in the spring, we have a dedicated course that you could take as an elective on portfolio development, how to put together your case studies for this projects that you've worked on, both before the program and in the program. And this is about your website portfolio and also the portfolio presentations that you'll be giving during interviews, how you tell the story of projects that you've worked on and the pieces of that design process that you've contributed to. That's a really important element of the job search. So we bring in an outside expert who works as a creative director in one of the agencies in Seattle, and he does a great job of giving you a chance to practice and put together your stories for your portfolio. A really important part of our career development strategy is our alumni network. The alum in this program, because each cohort is such a tight-knit group that really builds up a lot of loyalty to MHCI+D, and our alumni come back again and again throughout the year and help students prepare for their job search. Some of that is in programming. We do alumni panels where we invite the alumni back along certain topics and say, hey, tell us what it's like to be a researcher in industry, or maybe tell us what it's like to work at one of the big tech companies. We've got plenty of alum working at somewhere like Microsoft. Bring them in and ask them what their experience has been like. So alumni panels are definitely part of your career development. We also have an alumni mentoring program that runs throughout winter, spring, and summer quarters, where each student in the program is matched with usually 2 alumni, where you have a one-on-one relationship that you can keep meeting with the same alum over and over again for a long stretch of time. Gives you a chance to dive a little deeper and to ask questions and review topics that might come up and allow you to get a little more experience in talking to someone who's a few years ahead of you in the career path. Our alumni will come back in all sorts of ways, informally and formally, but those are 2 of the most compelling ways for your career development. Want to move ahead a little bit to talk about career development beyond the program itself. You definitely have more elements within the program, but there are a couple of advantages to where we sit. We sit at the University of Washington. This is a big university, has a large career center that caters to a broader community than just the HCI community, but they offer workshops and especially career fairs throughout the year that you could take part of. Also at the UW is this group that we've mentioned a few times in the curriculum and the discussion, this DUB community, Design, Use, Build community. You're not alone here at the University of Washington as the only people who are interested in this topic. There are a lot of people here studying as PhD students and as faculty or in other master's programs who are studying the same area. That's a great resource to start talking to folks outside of the cohort that can be giving you ideas for what's interesting and what you might want to focus on along the way. And then Seattle itself is a wonderful place to be studying and to be practicing in this HCI field. Designers and researchers are plentiful around Seattle, and that's because of like the industries that are here. We have the big tech companies, of course, Microsoft and Amazon. Google's got a robust presence here. Meta is got a strong presence in Seattle. The large companies are really where the field developed in industry, and we really developed a lot of our ideas. In addition to that, there's a lot of companies besides the big FANG companies that are strong in HCI and design. A lot of mid-sized companies that are great to work for and to go talk with. There are also startups along the way and design agencies. There's a large number of design agencies in Seattle, largely spinning up because of the presence of the large tech companies. Seattle's just a great place to be able to talk to people who speak the same language and are interested in the same weird things that you're interested in if you're going into this field. So as far as career development goes, it's especially as we've now, knock on wood, emerged pretty fully from the COVID era, the chance to actually be in an environment where you can go and talk to people who are leading in the career that you're interested in taking part in later, that's really a good advantage to doing something in Seattle for your career, for your graduate advice. I'm looking at the clock and I want to get to questions, so I'm just going to go quickly on applications. Maybe this will spur questions that you can dig in more deeply in your Q&A section. But really shortly, the dates that you should have in mind for what's coming up, January 15th, that's when the applications are due. Cement that into your mind. That's a hard deadline. Jan 15th, we don't start reviewing before then. So get your application in by January 15th, but don't feel pressure to have it done early or anything. 2 months later, March 15th, that's when we aim to have decisions out. So you wait 2 months, then March 15th is when we'll let you know who's admitted, who's waitlist, and who's not admitted to the program. At that point, there's a 1 month period for you to make decisions. And this is pretty standard for most programs. So you've got until April 15th to make a decision at that stage. That's the calendar. It's all on the 15th, basically. You can find a lot of information on our website about the application materials. They're pretty straightforward. I've listed them here. We can ask questions in Q&A about parts that you have questions about, but it's pretty straightforward. You're going to submit transcripts, 3 letters of recommendation from people who can talk about you, usually from a manager or an instructor position. You'll submit your resume, especially useful for those of you with more work experience. That's sort of the complement to your transcript for your school experience. And then the 2 big pieces, your personal statement, where you put together a story about why this program is right for you and why you're right for this program. That personal statement really can be the linchpin of your application to really help us understand how you're approaching the program. And then supplementary materials, something like a portfolio or other ways of showing your work to us, and where we get an idea and some insight into how you approach problem spaces that you've approached so far, whether it's in the field or elsewhere. We're interested in seeing some of the work that you've done. Then last little bit is your application fees, of course. Put that all together, that's your application. That's a really brief list of what goes on in the application part. I think a couple more things for international students. Just you'll find these as well on the website. You'll need to, if you're not a native speaker of English, there are multiple ways that you could demonstrate your proficiency in English. Look on the website for some of those options and our testing scores and the like. You need to have graduated from a 4-year program. The university graduate school requirements are 4-year degrees from an accredited university. If you went to a 3-year program, you'll need an extra year of study after you graduated, either postgraduate diploma or another graduate program. And then convert your GPA to a 4-point scale to help us understand how it compares. Those are the differences for international students, pretty similar to applicants from domestic programs. That's all I want to say on this. I'd like to move us to Q&A and take a few questions before we run out of time here. Students in particular, our student panel, I'm cognizant of the fact that you've got a class starting in 10 minutes. So I want to maybe first, when we think about questions that have come up in chat and other questions, let's look at those and see, are there things that maybe our student panel could start out by answering? And I'm going to stop the share and go back to the grid of screens here to see what we see some humans in this section. So what questions have come up? Some of you on the panel might be looking at the chat and know what goes on. Scott or Sam or anybody else, have you noticed anything that maybe we should dig into first?
We do have a hand raised if we want to answer the hand raised.
Gotcha. You put your hand up, you're first. What would
Hi.
you ask? Thanks a lot.
Yeah, hi, my name is Akanksha. Thank you for this really informative info session. It's been really interesting learning about the program. I wanted to ask, as someone who's kind of debating between the HCDE program and this program, I know some people were talking about this in the chat already. Just out of curiosity, are the faculty and the admissions committee for both of these programs are different, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, got it. And I would just love to hear a little bit more discourse about why certain students who are in this program right now chose this one over the two-year program.
Yeah, so good question to start us off. Any of our panelists apply to both and consider both? Want to talk about your decision process?
I can talk to it really quickly. So I applied to both, and I got accepted into both, and I chose this program. I think for me, I knew I wanted to go in and focus full time on school. I didn't want to have any, I didn't feel the need to necessarily also do work at the same time. And so this program, that 1 year time that it gave was more interesting to me. I think the cohort model was also really interesting to me. I'd heard positive things about it before, and I can say that from my experience already, like you get to know each other really well, really fast. Just being in high tense like group situations, and I think the cohort just as a whole like tries to band together. I think some of us are going to dim sum on Friday, and like we've gone a group went ice skating recently, and so it is, I think, in that sense, from just a connection standpoint, I thought it would kind of allow me to get connections that I thought were really valuable. And so far I've really enjoyed our cohort. We have a pretty awesome one. So yeah, I think those were two of the big ones for me. And I think there was some curriculum differences, I think, with MHCI+D that I liked a little bit more, some more of the studio focus, I think. But I think a big part of that was the cohort and the timeline, which I think is what a lot of students would say as well.
And just to echo on that, and just like Meg said in the chat as well, I did consider the HCD program as well, but I think the hands-on and the team collaboration, and just it has a similar feel to how the industry is structured, and also that's one of the reasons why I considered the this program, and also timeline. For me, I wanted something that that didn't take too long, and so that was also one of the reasons.
Yeah, I echo all of that. And something I wanted to add to the point of curriculum, something that I liked about MHCI+D is that it's a newer program. Like we're C11, it's an 11-year-old program. And I found that within that, it meant that a lot of the focus and philosophy of the program was newer and like maybe a bit more future focused. Again, like just because it's newer, like something that we've been learning in class that like is a bit hard. I'm struggling to get my head wrapped around it, but I'm really enjoying trying to do so, is sort of shifting away from like just human-centered design, but also like speculative design, sort of designing for how society might look in the future, or like, just the way that people interact with technology might look completely different now that stuff like AI is coming out. Yeah, so it just felt like personally a bit more exciting. But I think maybe that's also like a personal preference thing. I would definitely recommend looking into both and figuring out what aligns more with your goals. But yeah.
I'm going to add on to that. I chose MHCI+D because it's interdisciplinary in nature. I was really scared about my background not being in design. So this program sort of was designed to have people from different backgrounds. So that's my number one point for choosing this program. Secondly, I think I thought that HCDE was a very serious format in terms of I couldn't find a lot of collaborations on there with cohort mates. It's a huge cohort. HCDE is way more students than MHCI+D, so I kind of wanted that hands-on sort of teaching experience and learning experience and that time with the faculty. So I would say that's why I chose MHCI+D. Two main points from my end. Yeah.
Yeah, I think y'all have done a great job of talking about some of the distinctions between there. And just to sort of touch on this, as we mentioned at the very beginning, HCDE, so it's a great program. Those of you who are considering it, as you hear many of our students consider it, they're one of our founding sponsors for our program as an interdisciplinary program. The HCDE program, a lot of our teaching faculty will come from HCDE as well. Anna, our director, her faculty seat is within the HCDE program. So there's a lot of overlap between our programs. That structure that I think most of the students have mentioned, the cohort model and the fast-paced model, that's a big distinction between the two programs. The content and the questions that we're asking, I think we're asking some similar questions along those lines. So it's good in, different format overall, very similar in a lot of the topics that are covered.
Mm-hmm. And I'll just add in that one of my I meet regularly with the directors of GIX and with HCDE. They are amazing collaborators, and we're working to create even more intentional connections between the communities that we serve. And so whether you matriculate within HCDE or you matriculate within MHCI+D, there will always be rich opportunities to engage the students and instructors in both programs, not only through the things we do at MHCI+D, but also through the DUB community, which unites all of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's, you can keep
Go for
going,
it,
but there's structural differences too. Like that's a 2-year program, but it's also a flexible program. So some people are working at the same time. And so there's going to be people that are dedicated to like their other job and juggling education. There's going to be people that are there just for education. A lot of their courses typically are night courses. And so there's just they kind of attract a very specific people where that kind of structure aligns with kind of their needs as well. So you got to consider like whether it's HCDE or any other graduate program, kind of think about like not just the things that we talked about as far as curriculum, but also like the structure of the program, the classes, and the things that you might need to be supported as a student. Like people talked about this being a 1-year program, and we're saying you don't really have a lot of time to do another job. So some people have worked a little bit on the side. Right, like it's like it's just a different structure. So kind of consider what's best for you. And we recognize that each of these programs brings so much to the table, and they're great programs. And you have to, as a student or as somebody who's a prospective student, has to really consider like which is the ones that's kind of the right fit for you and where you are at your life right now. I mean, understand kind of some of those little core differences between them.
I want to, in the spirit of staying busy this whole year, right now, our student panel is got a class that begins at 6 p.m. Our local time. So I want to thank them so much for joining us. I know you all need to hop off probably to be a good student in your class. It's been great to have the student panelists along with us. I think the rest of us can stick around for a little bit longer for Q&A, but students, thank you so much. Enjoy class. It's been great to have you with us on this.
And you see the 2 questions that we have on the Q&A as well.
Scott, can you read those off if you have any questions, if you see those?
Sure, I see them. So the first one from anonymous participant guest is, what's your deferral policy?
So we generally don't allow deferrals. Each cohort, because it's such a selective group, out of all the many applicants, we work really hard to to craft a cohort that who's admitted one year is not necessarily the same person that's right for the next year's cohort. So we tend to say that each offer of admission is good for that year, unless there's some sort of like personal emergency or extenuating circumstances. But generally, we don't allow deferrals.
All right. Second question that we have from another anonymous participant. How many students enter the program straight from undergrad? And then do you think that the program is geared towards people with a bit of industry experience, or is having none okay?
So good question. We really think that, as with everything in an interdisciplinary program, a variety is good. It really helps us tap different valuable resources that different types of applicants bring. Right now, the current cohort, about 50% of a little more than 50% of the cohort has some work experience, but not extensive work experience. We categorize that as roughly 2 to 5 years out of undergrad. That's a little more than 50% of the cohort. About 30% of the cohort has more than 5 years of work experience. That's about a dozen of the 40 students. And then, did I do the math right? And then about 20% of the cohort is pretty much directly from undergrad, maybe with a year of experience. So it's roughly 20% directly from undergrad, 50% with up to 5 years of work experience, and 30% more than 5 years of work experience. That kind of a breakdown gives us a variety of valuable advantages to each group, from directly knowing the student experience to like having some valuable knowledge of being out in industry. And that work experience can be really good at shaping how you approach the learning of this year. But yes, every year, a decent chunk of each cohort is new grads. A decent chunk has some extensive experience, whether it's in the field or elsewhere, pivoting from somewhere else.
Yeah. And that being said, when doesn't matter if you have 0 to whatever amount of years experience, like we really do want to know like why now is a good time for you. And I think it's been brought up a couple of times about like, what are you also bringing in to this community, right? Like some people might be applying just because they don't know what to do. So they're just like, maybe grad school, maybe grad school. And so one of the things we also want to kind of know is like, why is this a program that's a good fit for you? And why do you think now is a good time for you? And what are the reasons why you're coming into this program? And so whether it's like you're straight from undergrad, we recognize that you can bring amazing things, even if you're coming straight from undergrad, just as much as somebody who has maybe 10 years experience. It's just different things that you're bringing to our community. But you have to be pretty articulate around that to explain that. So it's a good question. Okay, I got another question, Matt. What are some common mistakes that applicants make when applying that may affect their admission to the program negatively?
We can maybe bounce around thoughts on this one. I think one thing that comes to mind immediately is, and we've talked about some of like why we think we're doing what we're doing. We pay attention to if somebody is applying and it looks like they want to be an academic. They're going into academia. We're a professional degree. We're looking for people who understand that and won't get upset because we're dealing with, preparing people for industry work and the like. So if somebody is writing a PhD application to join this program, they're probably not looking at the right program for that. So that's one thing that immediately comes to mind is an error that sometimes comes up.
One thing that like we're living in the world of ChatGPT and AI helping us kind of write for us in a lot of ways. One thing that we are really cognizant of is that as a platform, but also I think Varun said it really nicely when he was talking about his application process throughout the couple of years that he applied. You are all individual people that really bring something unique to this program. Like there's going to be the cookie cutter people like, I care about HCI, I care about design, I care about, it's like, why do you care about it? Like, what is it about you? Right? And there's something like, if it's too general, it's really hard for us to actually understand who you are and your perspectives around some of these. And so one of the things that we're also looking for is like, don't just do the cookie cutter thing that everybody is going to say, like you are unique human beings that are offering up something to this community as well. And then also what you're hoping to get out of it is like very personal too. And so we want to kind of hear some of those stories about like from you as an individual. So that helps us as people that are trying to figure out who are the right fit. It's not just you individually, but it's looking at this whole group as a whole to say like, how do we bring together a group of people with these diverse perspectives, diverse kind of experiences, diverse points of view to kind of create that interdisciplinary and diverse mindset so that we are challenging and learning from each other. And so some of those are things that I think is important as well.
Anna, I'm sure you've got something to say, so I'd love to hear Anna your take on this too.
No, I just love the conversation thus far. I think another thing we look at is moving beyond the next job that you'd like to take. What is the impact that you'd like to have in the world? We feel confident that everybody on this call is going to have a next job, another job. The journey of building a career is difficult. Believe me, I know it firsthand. But what we really look for also is, what is the courage of your heart? Where do you want to take this work? The world right now really needs courageous innovators. And we're looking to see, a bit of that in your application to write from a place of real authenticity. Be you. There's only one of you. And we're really, really keenly interested to get to know who you are and what are the unique experiences that you bring to bear on this work. I think a lot of, I'm not a big fan of persona-based design. I'm much more interested in the people. And I think that's something that unites all of us. We really care, especially in a cohort-based program, about each and every person inside the program and what they bring to the program and how they challenge us as an instructor community to grow and be better and serve our community better. So looking for people who can also challenge, don't feel like you need to color in the lines. That's really not so important.
Yeah, I think those are what Anna has said and what Scott has said. Those are really the keys to a lot of the way that we're looking to form each new cohort. Sometimes I think a mistaken belief that we'll see in some essays is people thinking I need to sort of reach a certain score on all of these different criteria, like as if there's a stack ranking and we're picking the top UX designers to join our program. And boy, are we not. We're picking a cohort of individuals who have some interesting human nature to them that really puts together a great group of folks who are going to be critical thinkers in this field. So it's not about like, slamming the best design you could come up with for your application. It's about who you are as an individual, I think.
And for any more questions, Matt?
I think
I do
maybe
have
we can get one or two more in, but we're running past our time, so I don't want to stretch this too much longer. There's a question in there from Kim about speaking to the students, and the students have all gone to class, so we're going to leave that one unanswered.
There was a question about WIST from Cindy Lunn.
That's
UI software and technology. She says that I'm a student with design background, so I want to explore more about the technology thing. International student, will the TOEFL speaking score matter a lot during the application?
I'll answer the TOEFL part, and then we can go to the WISP part, which is more interesting. Sure. With all of the test scores for people who take English language tests, it's important to reach our test score amounts or get very close to those at least. We don't spend a lot of time beyond that parsing specific scores. So you need to have a test score that matches up to what we're looking for. Beyond that, most of the reviewers aren't going to be saying, oh, this is a 27 and not a 26. They're not looking for that fine-grained distinction based on your TOEFL scores or IELTS or anything else. So that's the easy part there. It matters, but it doesn't matter at fine-grained levels there so much. WIST, what are our thoughts about the user interface software and technology class?
Well, it's one of our most popular classes. I will say that it's been taught historically by Jacob Wabrock, who's just a titan in the field. He leads accessible design. He's just he has a deep practice and research base in design for accessibility. He's an outstanding instructor and one of the founders of our program. So it's a really phenomenal course, and it gives students a grounding and a perspective on the history, present, and future of technology. Scott, I'd love to hear your thoughts as someone who's been with the program for a really long time.
Sure. As an expectation, so anybody going into HCI and design in general, HCI as a field of practice has been around for a long time. There's a lot of things that have been kind of researched and learned throughout the years that kind of can set the foundation for your understanding of HCI as a practice, but also some of the things that they are still resonant in the technologies that we are designing today and into the future. And so a lot of it, there'll be a lot of reading and a lot of like looking over and understanding some of these things. There's also a lot of time spent in that class also investigating what is current. So taking some of those foundational understandings, looking how it's kind of mapped to current day technologies, and then also starting to look at some of the more future thinking technologies that are kind of emerging. So especially in academia, there's a lot of papers and a lot of research being done around technology and seeing like, where is that going? What's the zeitgeist behind some of that stuff? And that's also from your perspective, doing some research to kind of bring that back to the classroom. So the idea is that it gives you kind of this, I mean, as much as we can get in one quarter, an opportunity to give you like some grounding understanding about the space, the inquiry behind that space, and then also kind of help prepare you as you're thinking about when we're creating technologies, what are the things that we can leverage from before, and what are new questions that are still opening up around some of these technologies. And so it's really framed around that. And the hope is like by having some of that grounded knowledge, it'll support a lot of the other future courses that you take and the rest of your careers within HCI design. Hopefully that helps.
Awesome.
I will say one last thing on that. If you look up Amy Ko, so Amy Ko has taught this course, I think 3 or 4 years. They're a professor in the information school, and they actually have a website that they kind of crafted around some of their coursework that is taught within here. And so one of those things is like, look up some of the instructors that we've had in the past for these courses. And then you can kind of see some of the different kind of literature that they are writing and the directions that they are coming from as well, if you want to learn more in depth about some of that. So Jacob Wolbrecht and Amy Ko, 2 outstanding faculty members.
Absolutely. I think I want to call this session to an end here. I want to be mindful of your time. We've gone a bit over already. Thank you all for the questions. Thank you all for hanging out with us this evening or morning, whatever time it is in your time zone. I'd say thank you to all the students as well for joining us, but they're off at class. Anna, Scott, thank you both for joining in today. Everyone, if you have more questions, you can email me at mhcid@uw.edu. If you want to be put in touch with the students, we can talk with, we can hook you up with Sam, our admissions ambassador, to chat more. Check out our website. We put a lot of information on there, a lot of Q&A answers to a lot of the good questions there. But thank you all for coming today. I hope you have a good rest of the day. Take care.
Thank
Bye,
you,
everybody.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye all.
Thank you.
Good luck.